Okay. Coping mechanisms. How do you deal? Like we were talking about anxiety and just in general, like if there's an issue that pops up, like how do you deal with it?
I don't.
You don't just let it happen. What? So something happens whether at work or home or school, you're just gonna sit there and take it?
I just kind of cry about it, or I get really mad about it and I escalate the situation, and then
That kind of makes sense.
I just go and smoke a lot of weed.
So that's your coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's just simple as that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are so complicated.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
I'm a people pleaser. We've talked about this before.
I get it.
So if
though,
someone has a problem with me,
Mhm.
they have a problem with me. I'm not gonna go crazy about it. Like I would do everything to make them not have a problem with me.
Mhm.
But then if say for example work things, people are gonna think whatever they think no matter what I do.
But people are gonna think what they think no matter what you do, regardless, whether it's work,
Exactly.
school, or home.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean. So what am I gonna do? Like, am I gonna stress about it for a minute? Yeah.
Some people do.
I mean, I do. Like, I'm gonna stress about it. I'm gonna complain about it. I'm gonna get pissed off about it. But then,
But how do you bring yourself back to Zen mode
you just have to be like, "Hey, it happened."
without the ooey?
I just have to just kind of be like, you just have to reflect. It's a lot of self-reflection. A lot of people need to grow up. A lot of people need a huge reality check.
Mhm.
Like some people don't understand that things are not going to always go your way. People are not always going to view you the way that you want them to view you.
True.
And things aren't going to fall in your lap. Solutions will never be given to you. Problems are solvable. You just got to go solve them. That's it. Like there's some certain things that you can't really solve in a day, things you can't solve. Like if you have you need to cope with your own feelings of how you look, that's not going to happen overnight. You just have to learn how to appreciate who you are and appreciate what has happened in order to get you down this path, and then figure out ways, I guess you can say coping mechanisms, but different goals that you need to put within those coping mechanisms. Like if you have anxiety, there's no way you can just figure out anxiety. Like you can't just not be anxious. Some people are like, just don't be anxious then. That's not simple. It's not as simple as that. It doesn't
work.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You need people. You need time. People need to be more understanding of people's different mental states, because that's a delicate thing, right?
A lot of times, though, people don't see it as a medical state. They just like, oh, you're acting out again, or you're looking for attention, or there you go again.
That's their fucking problem.
I get it, but it does happen.
Yeah, and you need as
a person, how do you cope with that? Because I don't know if you have anxiety at all, but I have it now. And
there's also different types of anxiety.
Yes.
Like performance anxiety, like you're not getting it up type thing. Or there's anxiety where social anxiety,
most
test
social
anxiety,
about.
Yeah. Some people have anxieties, but some people get anxious just walking into work because it's a shitty environment.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see that too.
You just kind of have to realize that's at the point where you can either have that difficult conversation with someone, in any sense of anxiety, difficult conversations and goals to set for yourself, or if you're just gonna go in there, do your shit, and leave.
Yeah.
Right? There's social anxiety. If you have social anxiety walking into a store, figure out a way if you can put your earphones in, listen to music while you're walking around the store so you're not aware of things going on around you. If you're anxious about walking around classrooms, or not classrooms, hallways at schools, or going to work, if you can find out ways that you can just stay to yourself, reading something on your phone while you're walking through the hallways, keeping your mind busy with other things and worrying about what everyone else is thinking about you, or what you could be doing. If you're doing things to keep your mind busy, you're less likely to feel a little bit anxious because you're not thinking about how anxious you are in that moment.
That makes sense. It's just that a lot of people do different stuff, when you're out. I'm going to call it out in the field, but if you're outside of the house versus inside of the house, a lot of times if you're in the house, you may just go in a corner and just go with a little ball and just, let it work its way out.
Yeah, I mean, I do that.
Or you call a friend, which I've done before, like, hey, I'm having this panic attack very soon, and I don't want to go into full-fledged panic mode. Can I talk to you or read what you're doing right now?
Yeah. Well, I know I've read you a lot of my homework of like things that like essays that I've written, and or like I give you like access to my documents so you can read them, just get your mind off something else. But if you're gonna be calling people and like looking for solutions from other people, most of the time you're gonna find them yourself, because like you just kind of need that reassurance that someone else has the same headspace and is in the same like mindset that you are, so that you don't feel irrational.
Yeah.
Like conversations about like your difficult boss. Sometimes all it takes is to hear that like your boss does suck, or like your teacher does suck, and then that kind of like brings you back into reality for a second. Where
because
it's like
there's two people that feel the same way versus just one.
It's like, okay, so it's not just me. Like I'm not the only person being targeted, right? Like it's not like that. There's like that list where it's like, okay, well it's a list. It's not just me. I'm not being targeted for being an idiot, which I'm not. But like, people view you the way that they want to view you, and you can't change that unless you make an actual effort into doing it. But like, you shouldn't also change who you are and what you do based on how other people view you. If you are the type of person that you are, that's like your own genuine self. And unless you're changing yourself for what you think is the better and like what will actually better you,
that's your terms.
It has to be under your terms. It can't be like people are like like in relationships or in friendships, they're like, I don't really like the way that you do this, or I don't like the way that you dress. Okay, well, it's the way that I dress. I feel comfortable in this. You can't tell me what I can and can't wear.
But at the same time, though, if somebody that has anxiety, you say that to, they're going to feel ways about it.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Like, what did I do wrong? Like, okay, do I need to change? Oh my God, now we need to throw everything out.
But then, like, that's how people are like, oh my God, like, now I don't know if like everyone thinks this way of me, but like, that's just like one person's opinion. 5 other people may have that same opinion, but 1,000 other people may think that you're amazing and beautiful the way that you are. Right? So anxiety is an awful state of mind, and it's like medically like it's a thing.
It's like, definitely a bag of tricks that's different for everybody.
Exactly.
I mean, some people will clam up and not move. Like I've had a bunch of staff that used to work for me, and I said in another video earlier that some would clean like crazy, some would sweep, some would pull a rubber band, some would scratch. A lot of them would rub their forehead, scratch their head. Like there's different telltale signs for everybody, and everybody deals with it in a different way, and there's no right or wrong way. And I wish that there was a book out there to be like, you know what, this is how you deal with it and this is how you fix it. But there is no way. But what's been helping me is just talking about it. But at the same time, though, there's not always somebody there to talk to about it. And like for me personally, I don't want to call that person over and over again, whether it be you or somebody else, because they have their own problems to deal with, and I can't pile it on top of them. But at the same time, though, they know that your issues are fresh, and they don't mind giving you that time because they know it's a temporary thing. But if you're going to abuse it at the same time, though, but again, that's even a wrong statement for me to say, because you just need help and you don't know what to do. And
everyone kind of deserves to feel everything that they're feeling. Like emotions are important to feel. Anxiety, as much as it sucks, is important to feel, because then at least like things that you aren't comfortable with, like what your boundaries are. Boundaries are super important, right? And boundaries can also link in with like coping mechanisms, because like if people are breaking your boundaries and they're not respecting them, what are you doing to be okay with that? Like, what are your coping mechanisms? If you are a person that like your love language isn't physical touch, what are you doing, and how are you coping with people touching you all the time?
Difficult.
Or if people are like doing things that like you just don't love, like how do you cope with that? Like if it makes you anxious, like people are, I don't even know what an example is. Like if people are acting like unsafe at work, right? Like how do you deal with that anxiety? How do you cope with that? How do you, like if you know of something that happened and like you know that there's going to be repercussions from it, how do you deal and how do you cope with like knowing that you could be a part of it, or like someone could find out you did something wrong? Like that's like a big thing of anxiety too, right? Like
felt that panic attack could happen, right? Or they could be like, whatever happens.
And if whatever happens is your coping mechanism, then like that's your coping mechanism. But some people might get a fat reality check from that.
Sometimes may not too, right?
Yeah.
But again,
things work out in weird ways for certain people. So if that's that's working for you, then it's working for you. That's great. Whatever gets you through the day and a state of mind that is healthy and that you feel okay with is what's important.
But what if you have anxiety? You know, you or your partner knows how to deal with that particular anxiety, but the anxiety that is being created is from an external source, and you know what that external source is, but they don't want to change because of and they know what the external source is. How would you deal with that? Because that's kind of self-inflicted. No, like say for instance, I don't know, going to work all the time. You know, this particular individual is always going to piss you off.
Yeah.
And you still hang around him anyways, but and then you're getting panic attacks because of that person.
That's self-destruction at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you tell that person that, hey, you know, this is what it is, but they're never going to believe you though?
That's when you have to decide if you're going to have that difficult conversation.
Yeah.
Some people it's better, like don't get me wrong, ghosting sucks. But, like, it's not, like, you just have to start, like, slowly distancing yourself. Just kind of be like, okay, maybe I won't have lunch with this person today. Maybe I'm not gonna, like, if it's, like, is it a person that maybe you're working with in, like, the same department area? Or, like, you're in the same class with someone?
Could be
like,
same class.
Okay, so same class. Like, if you're sitting next to this person all the time, maybe you start sitting somewhere else. Maybe you start speaking to someone else in the class. Like, you start, like, moving away from this person, but, like, going towards this person. And, like, eventually they'll kind of just be like, they'll start doing the same thing out of the fact that they don't have you to talk. If they see you talking to someone else, then you're busy, so they'll find someone else to talk to. And all of a sudden, like, you'll kind of find that spiral where, like, you kind of just distance. Or you can be like, dude, I hate you. Dude, you suck. It depends on the type of person that you are, right? Like,
yeah.
You can just kind of be like, okay.
Pretty much what the point I was trying to get at is that, you know, even though we all have anxiety, we all have busy days, and we all have different lifestyles, it takes time. It's not something that's going to be fixed overnight. It's not going to be something that's going to fix today, tomorrow. That's what I was trying to get at. Like, as you said, you know, if it's an external factor, you know, whether it's something in school or work or whatever the case is, it's going to take time, and it's okay for you to take that time for yourself and try to work it out.
Yeah.
And if you can't work it out by yourself, please talk to someone, because you're not alone, and at the end of the day, you're worth it. So yeah, don't go it alone. It's probably the message that I'm trying to get
as
right
much
now.
as you feel like you need to be alone, sometimes, like, I understand that there's days where, like,
take that time.
Need that time.
Take
alone.
that time,
yeah,
not
course.
A problem.
But it's like, I know, like, you feel like you need to be alone all the time. You have no one to lean on. There will always be one person who would even just be willing to have a conversation with you. If you don't want it to be about how you're feeling or, like, what you're feeling anxious about, you'd be like, hey, like, how's your day going? Tell me about something good that happened to you today. Just because then, like, that's something of someone that you care about, something good happened, maybe you can feel good about that for just a second, right? Like, it's just something that can kind of just push you away from feeling like shit for just a second.
Any distraction helps.
Yeah.
But just keep in mind, though, don't take the distraction as a cure or a full-out escape, because eventually you're going to have to deal with it head on.
Yeah.
And, you know, but
you just need to learn how to deal with it and accept it in, like, a mature way. Like, it's until you're ready to face it. Like, there's this thing that I really like that my mom always tells me, that she's like, you're not listening to understand, you're listening to respond.
That's kind of cool.
So if you're actively, like, trying to respond to something and you're not trying to understand the situation fully and understand what you are capable of and how you're capable of reacting, don't react. Don't do something until you fully understand how you're feeling or understand how someone else is feeling. Because then you're just reacting based on whatever.
Or piling on their issues.
Yeah, like, you're piling or you're reacting to, like, your first initial thought without taking a second and thinking about how this is going to affect me, how this is going to affect the person that's receiving my emotions.
Like, I was watching a TV, not to sidetrack, but I was watching a TV show. Somebody punched somebody and they said, okay, that guy's gone for 2 weeks. You know, take the time, don't contact them, whatever the case is. But the person did something within the 2 weeks. But as the 2 weeks hit, they're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, what you're saying is that just take the time.
Yeah.
Whether it be a day, whether it be 2 days, whether it be an hour or even 20 minutes. Yeah. Whatever the case is, just take the time before you react.
Run through the scenario in your head. Like, what would happen if I punch this guy in the face right now? There's real life, like, changing things that could happen if you just out of anger just punch someone in their jaw. Like, either it would happen to you or it could happen to them. Like, imagine you punch some guy in his jaw and you break his jaw, and then his jaw, like, then his like mouth is like wired shut for like, not you. I'm not worried about you.
What?
I'm not worried about you doing that.
Excuse me.
But for any of the viewers who might have the strength, unlike Navin, to punch some guy in the jaw and absolutely obliterate it, imagine the consequences that would come from that person out of you just responding. Good. Out of you responding out of anger. And then, like, how you would feel like shit knowing that this person's life just drastically changed because you just reacted out of impulse and not out of understanding.
I'm just still upset that you said that. I'm
yeah, but did you just hear the fucking amazing shit that came out of my mouth?
Yeah, it was great.
That was
fire.
Educational.
It was educational, but do you believe this?
That's why I'm going to be doing the fitness segment and you're going to be recording it.
Oh my god. And you know what? I wanted to give you this.